an umbrella getting wet. I mean, to keep me dry, God bless him. And I was sitting there and I was dumping onto a laptop with my camera, the P2 card, and it was pouring with rain. I'm plugged into the generator, which I'm sitting on, and there's water all around me. And I was like, how did I get here? Like, this is, I hope the film's good because I'm about to die. So that was, yeah. And it was a crazy time. Someone should have turned the camera on me. It was
film about a film. About a film.
Exactly.
And was it just you by yourself? Did you have any crew
No,
helping you?
No, it was me.
Wow.
Just me. But it was cool because I had Jen, Sid, and I all lived in the same apartment. That's how I kind of was able to be there invisibly because I didn't put any burden on production. I was just like living with them, and you know, I had great access. I mean, I think that's the key to any observational film, that you can just float around. But no, it was just me. It was just me shooting constantly. Wow. Not sure what I was doing. And I'd get home at the end of some nights and I'd watch everything as you do obsessively, and you know, looking for those moments. And the funny thing is I'd have these days where, you know, something terrible would happen on set, you know, the funniest moments, so, you know, so the audience knows those ones. And I'd be like so excited, and I'd get home and I'd be cooking dinner, and Jen would just be like a mess. Her mascara would be bleeding, and she'd be like, you had a great day, didn't you? And I'd be like, I had a great day, Jen. And then, you know, I'd be compassionate and go, no, you know, it's okay, Jen, the film will be okay. And then we'd switch roles. Another day she'd have a great day and there'd be nothing of interest for me to film. And I'd go through my rushes, there'd be nothing there, and she'd play that trick on me as well. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, the back and forth.
Yeah.
And you keep mentioning it as an observational filmmaking, and I noticed the style of the documentary is quite straightforward, and it's, you know, beautiful focus and shots and everything, but there's not a lot of individual interviews like you sometimes see in documentaries, or music in the background to sort of evoke emotion in a certain direction. Was that a particular style that you chose on purpose, or?
Yeah, it was. It was purposeful. It was, well, when I rough cut it together, before, you know, we got the editor on board, I think I had this idea that we were going to use this old, you know, Bollywood music, and you know, we were perhaps going to do some retrospective interviews. But I mean, personally, I love observational films. I mean, I like them, my favourite. So when I cut it together, I realised we didn't need it. And anytime we laid music over things, I just felt it was schmaltzy. I didn't feel like my film anymore. And I don't know, there was something, it's such a raw film, and it's all handheld, and it's just me, and it's, you know, Jen with a radio mic, and it's, I think it had to be, I think if I would have put extra music on a voiceover, it wouldn't have that same raw feeling. Yeah.
Oh, great. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for Penny? Open it up to questions. Yes, in the front.
Hi, so I just wanted to ask, how long did a lot of the crew want you to talk back to them? Did they get that you weren't going to communicate with them back from behind the camera?
Oh, good question, Mary. It's one of my friends, but she hadn't given me that one before. That's actually a good question. In the first 2 weeks, if you could see the footage, it was of them, oh my God, it was crazy. Just, you know, it was all stuff I didn't end up using. It was them standing, they'd kind of get rigid in front of the camera and go, hey, and they'd do lots of peace signs. You know. That's what they felt they had to do. But after a couple of weeks, then they didn't notice me at all. Didn't care. I could be right up beside them, and they didn't care. But yeah, at first they did feel like they should do something when I had the camera there. But then things spun out of control so badly on set that it was almost a blessing for me, because no one noticed me after that. So yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
That actress, was she really as bold she is and like that?
Oh yeah, that's the tamest cuts I could use of her. Like, she's an amazing woman. Like, that is just how she is all the time. I went to the gym once with her. I've never felt more unattractive in my life, because I was like her bodyguard in this female gym, and I was in my sweats, you know, ponytail, and it's just like every man in the gym just stopped. She's this incredible power. She's a Bollywood movie star, and in India, they're like goddesses. They're treated like gods. I mean, they're cinema gods. So, yeah, and she speaks her mind. She's very famous. If you Google her, Malika Sherawat, she's actually famous for being so ballsy and for speaking her mind and for doing what other Indian women won't do. Like, she was the first Bollywood actress to do full French kissing in movies, and you know, she won't bear it all, as you saw in that scene, but she'll go pretty far. But you know, she wants to be taken seriously as a Hollywood actress now. So.
Yes.
What do Govind and Jennifer think of the film when they've seen it? And also what are your plans with this now that it's complete?
Okay, well, Jen loves it, and it was quite strange because we had our premiere at Hot Docs in April, and she came along. We brought her and Sid along for the screening, and I'd sent her DVD after DVD of all the rough cuts at various stages, and she actually gave me some really good feedback advice, which I was not expecting because she's very biased, but she's a great writer. I sent her one of the latest rough cuts about 4 weeks before Hot Docs, and she gave me some really good feedback that tied things together. So it was about 6 weeks before Hot Docs. And then we made quite a few changes, and then got to Hot Docs, and I'm sitting next to her in the cinema, and she goes, yeah, I haven't watched it. And I went, you haven't watched it? You haven't seen it? She goes, yeah, you're not since that last really old rough cut. And I was like, oh. But anyway, we watched it. She loved it, and she's such a good sport. She gets up at the Q&As and just runs them. And, she's just an amazing woman. But Sid, it brought up so much for her. She had to leave the screening once because she was crying so much. But then she came back and did the Q&A. But yeah, Jen loves it, and we were also at Fantasia in Montreal. We've kind of been grouping our films in festivals, which was really nice because she really likes to co-present this. And I think at first she was repellent about the idea, and now it's like therapy for her. Like she comes in and it is like a therapy session. I think it's how she's dealing with it. But Govind, I don't know. I don't even know if he's watched it yet. I've sent him several emails. I've seen him once or twice since. He lives in LA, but he hasn't responded to my last email. So I don't know. And he and Jen don't speak anymore. So we'll see. I hope he likes it. When we have our American premiere, I want him to be there. So he'll get to see it then.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, in the middle.
Yeah, I want basically to thank you for this film. It is fantastic to observe a situation all directors, I think, know. You came from outside and could have the possibility to document much more than this actual shooting. I saw so many. I was constantly thinking about this belief in this body, mind, spirit thing, also in the Western world, and this God-fulfilled country, India. So this was one aspect that found some way to develop. Did you felt this during the shooting and really emphasize this point, or was this somehow developed in the editing?
Wow, well thank you. That's a really lovely compliment. And it makes me really happy when people pick up on the little symbols and the other little stories. It's because it never was to me just a film about, Hollywood woman goes to India and makes a movie. I noticed in the first month that something weird was happening. I only planned to stay 6 weeks to do a shoot. I was going to make a little short thing, but I stayed the whole time because I had this feeling that there was something more, and that Jennifer was just like feeding me a little more every day. It was like a drug, and I wanted to stay because I didn't know what she was going to do next. And I did see that probably once a week I would get a bit of gold, and I would be so precious about it. I would almost be hugging my hard drives going, oh, I've got this amazing thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I've got this amazing moment that means all these things, and it ties in the themes of the film. But then other days I was like, but are these ever going to stick together? And I think it was when I got to the edit that I realized the strongest story, when I pulled out all the scenes that, to me, it was quite an intuitive process. When I edit, I throw down all the things I like the best. I don't think about the story. And then out of that I make, obviously, it's true, but I weave it between the bits I like the best. But the bits I liked the best were these moments, the symbolic moments and the mother-daughter moments, and the hinting at this, it was like there's quite a lot of philosophy running through it. Jen's quite the philosopher. Even though she swears like a truck driver, she's like, I look at her as some kind of a guru kind of figure through it. She's a strange woman. But I feel like some people have said the most horrible things about the film. Like, I think someone said once, who wants to hear a 40-year-old woman talk about her sex life? That was one of our worst reviews. But I think there's something. I think there is something else in it, and I really hope I brought that out. So I'm glad that you saw something else in it. Thanks.
Any other questions for Penny? Yes.
What's one word of advice for somebody who wants to go, or someone who will go work in Bollywood?
Wow. Gosh, I'm the expert on that. Well, I'd go there not with your precious, fully funded or self-funded, even worse, project. I'd go there, before you do that, go there and just get an inroad in Bollywood and be an intern for like 6 months, because it's a completely different world. It doesn't operate the way, I mean, as you see in the film, Jen has to learn to go with how Bollywood operates in order to get the film she wants. Because the way she tried to impose her Western systems on Bollywood just doesn't work. It's traumatizing. So if I were you, I'd go and like spend a few months there and just get a lay of the land, and then take your precious project when you've got some good local assistants. I've got some good local assistants if you need their names.
Yeah, I was curious, that puja, was that the spiritual
Yes,
thing they do that
yeah.
before every
every
shoot?
take? Yeah. It was. I had more in there, but my producer had to pull me back and go, Pen, enough of the coconut. Like, I wanted it everywhere. I was like, every scene. She's like, no, just take the coconut out. Yeah. But it was so beautiful. I loved that. You know, cinema is like, the wonderful thing about India is everything's ritualized, and you know, I loved the flaming coconut. There's a special name for it, but I just called it the flaming coconut, because you know, they'd light it, and you know, they'd get it every day it was the same. They'd get it too close to the camera. The cameraman would yell expletives at because it was going to burn the lens, but he was just trying to bless the camera, and you know, everyone would go around. The Westerners didn't know what they were doing, so they'd just sniff the camphor, you know, and you're supposed to like dip your hands in the fire, but the Westerners would be like smelling the fumes. It was just like, it was beautiful. I loved how it did symbolize this is the beginning of the shoot day, and I think it's a wonderful thing to do, and I think it's something we'd probably need one. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Did you ever feel that the relationship between the producer and the director would ever work?
Yes, in the beginning. I mean, I've known Govind for 20 years now. 15 years now, and I trusted him so much. And I mean, I was so happy to see my new friend and my old friend unite to make this film. And at the beginning, there was just this mutual admiration society between the two of them. They were going to make this kind of cinema that's never been seen. I truly felt it was. I mean, as a filmmaker, I was concerned. I was like, this is just going to be like, nothing's going to happen, because it's just going to be this love fest. But I had no idea. It came out of left field that Govind was going to behave this way towards Jennifer.
Do you think it was financial, or was it...
Yes. I mean, I feel for Govind. I mean, I know he behaved badly on set, you know, as we all do under pressure. But he had behind him, you know, it's good that you bring this up, because he's not just a bad guy. It's just he's got executive producers behind him saying, you know, why are we $2 million over budget on a $3 million film, you know, and they went over budget, but they didn't want me to put that in the title card. You can Google it if you want to know, but they just didn't want me to put it in there. So yeah, he was under a lot of financial pressure, and that was of course translating onto his moods on set, where he'd try to kick Sid off the set, or you know, and it was misplaced anger, and I just wish they could have talked about it more directly, you know, instead of it becoming this war, because Jen didn't know what was going on. It was all kept from her. There was this big sense of, don't tell the director that all these bad things are going on. It's just the way it's done there. That, you know, she's meant to just make the film, and they're meant to handle all the money stress. So yeah, it was a lack of communication that eventually brought the whole thing down.
Well, you do have that nice shot of the two of them, kind of towards the end a little bit, where they're talking about he wants to adopt her.
I know. Look, that was a really sweet
nice
moment.
you know.
Yeah, I really hope he wasn't stoned. I just, I want to believe that was just human kindness, because every time I look at that shot, I'm like, I can't tell if he's stoned or not. Because the thing about Holi is you have this pang, which is like the Holi celebration where you throw the powder. They make this out of hash? Is anyone had it? Anyway, they make it. Anyway, it gives you a high. And we had it on the set, and we shouldn't have. I don't know how that really happened. So every time I look at that shot, I'm like, Govind is uncharacteristically calm. So, but you know what? He said it, and he meant it, and it was a sign things were going to get better. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, did you find it hard directing a director? I mean, obviously you weren't directing her, but there were times where it looks like she's sort of taking over. From what you said on the sort of on the edit on her, and did you find it tricky?
No, like you said, because it's observational, I didn't have to tell her to do anything. I mean, that was, I think I'd be terrible at directing someone. I mean, it would be my nightmare to have to, I'd just go into a panic if I had to direct someone. It's not my skill. I'm so much better at just being a fly on the wall. But there was like a pact Jennifer and I made in that first week when we met each other. And I said, I want to make this, I said, I want to capture you. And I said, I don't think we're going to get that through any other way except observational. And so I said, I love verite, I love this kind of filmmaking. And she's just this incredible, giving, generous woman. She said, Penny, you are the director, you are the filmmaker, I'll do whatever you want. And I said, I don't need you to do anything, just be you. She goes, well, you can film me doing anything. So it was like this pact we had. There was only once or twice she said, oh no, Penny, turn off the camera. But aside from that, I could be under her nose and it was completely fine. And because I was living with her, we became very, very close, saw each other naked more times than I care to remember. But we became like sisters, so that when I knew she was in these extreme moments, part of me really, like when she was crying in the flat, part of me wanted to stop filming and go comfort her. But I also knew, because we were close, that I could keep filming and then, get my shot and then go around and comfort her afterwards. But I was like, I can't lose this moment. It's amazing. It's real. There's a real tear. And, and it's so hard filming that stuff, because you want to jump in and get involved and you also can't. I mean, my voice comes through the soundtrack the whole time because I'm talking, yelling out things to her as well. But I actually asked her to look at the rough cut, because I let them see a very, very old version just to kind of sign off, so we get the release forms and everything sorted. That's another thing, make sure you get release forms signed on the day that you start shooting people. So she wanted to look at it, I knew she was going to sign the release forms, but she said, let me just have a look at what you've got already. And even then, she's so I don't know, she's not a pushy woman at all. She just, she said, do you want me to give you some feedback on this? And I went, yeah, sure. And I said, but if it's biased, it's just that your ass looks fat in this shot, I can't change that stuff. And she said no, and she gave me really good story advice. And that's rare. I don't think anyone could go to the subject of their film where the film is about her breakdown and her losing the thing she loves the most, which is her film. But it's amazing how she could just put another hat on and go, okay, now I'm giving story feedback on this story, not my story. So yeah, she never played director, which was really cool. If anything, she would put herself below me. She'd be like, you're the director in the room, And when people would come to visit, she goes, there's 2 directors here, not just me. And I'd be like, kind of going red and embarrassed. So she's a very generous woman. Yeah, it was a rare situation.
Well, she comes across as really generous in the film, and just always able to find the humor to even these moments that are happening to her immediately, and her film, even though when she hasn't lost it yet, but it's going
she
through
could
the process
feel
of filming.
it was slipping away. Yeah.
But still has just these not wisecracks, but just hilarious remarks to make that are intelligent and heartfelt, but also not entirely in despair. They have a light-heartedness to them as well.
Yeah,
which is really, really enjoyable to
I
watch.
learned a lot from her in that way. I don't handle stress the same way she does. I throw things or yell or, like most people, or a lot of people do. She never did that. She would just communicate and then tell these self-effacing stories or talk about her sex life. It was amazing. So I've learned something from her. I don't lose my shit as much. Yeah. I tell jokes about my non-existent sex life instead. It's a lot better than to throw things.
Exactly. Are there any other questions? So apart from the premiere in the States, where is the film going? Anywhere else after Raindance? Or
Yeah, we're in Sitges in Spain. I don't know how to pronounce it. Jen's going to have her European premiere of Change there. That's her next film. So we'll meet up there in about a week for 2 days. And I think there's a couple I can't talk about still in Europe, but the US premiere isn't locked in yet. So we're just crossing fingers and hoping for something good. I'm seriously hoping for LA because I have this dream of getting Malika, Govind and Jennifer together for the first time since Hiss. I mean, it could be a disaster. I mean, I guarantee it'll be a disaster, but I also kind of feel like I want this to be like group therapy, that we all need to kind of come back and watch it. But I don't know, that could be a pipe dream.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
We keep our fingers crossed.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you.
tonight
Thanks
and
for having me.
coming to questions.
Hey, thanks for coming.